Juan Soto does something for the first time at Citi Field, and the Cubs do something to Paul Skenes for the first time. We'll break it down on MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On MLB Game Night. Your daily recap of every single game across Major League Baseball in the way that only the Locked On Podcast Network can do it. Every game, every night. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, host of the Braves Postcast on Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. He's JD Hafferin, host of Locked On Cardinals. And JD, not a full slate today, but some really exciting games. Before we get to the first one, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. JD, the Diamondbacks went to New York to take on the Mets. Arizona wins the series 4-2, but I think the bigger story here is Juan Soto did something that he has never done in his Mets career until today, and he did it twice. But it was a losing effort. Ryan Ficklestein, host of Locked On Mets, he's not freaking out about it, though.
For the first time this season, the New York Mets have lost the series at Citi Field, and for the first time since July of last year, the Mets lost back-to-back games at Citi Field, which is a testament to how dominant they have been at home since really June of last year. This is Ryan Ficklestein, the host of Locked On Mets, and in this series, I think the point that's going to get lost on a lot of people is the Mets just went up against two pitchers that are really good. That there's going to be a lot of teams this year that are going to go into a series against the Diamondbacks, have to face off against Corbin Burnes and Zach Gallen, and they're going to lose a lot of those series. This is one where I'm not going to knock the Mets too much for not coming through. Yes, they had opportunities to win each of these games late, but that's a testament to the Mets lineup and their resolve that they're able to put themselves in a position to get those victories, and they will continue to come. There's going to be teams, though, that are going to be able to execute in those late game situations, and credit to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They went to Citi Field and they beat a really good Mets team. I don't think that means anything about the Mets moving forward, and the good news, the Mets will have a chance this next week to go into the Diamondbacks' house and try to get some revenge.
So, JD, 5 hits for the Mets. 2 of these are Juan Soto home runs, but Zach Gallen just mows them down. What is the bigger concern for the Mets here? Only getting 5 hits, or the bullpen giving up 3 runs on 4 hits and 2 walks in the final couple innings?
I think I'd be more concerned with the bullpen. I mean, you look at that lineup and they just got superstars up and down, and sometimes it's just not your day. The bullpen, and it gets magnified a lot for your bullpen because when they have a bad day, usually the game flips, and that means that what was a win becomes a loss, and it just gets magnified. Whereas when a lineup goes cold for a day, you just start them all again tomorrow. No big deal. But it just makes it sound worse when the bullpen goes bad. So I'd be more concerned with the bullpen and say that was a bigger red flag. But the Mets are really, really good, man. My Cardinals went to New York and got swept there. They got to host them this weekend. So it ain't going to be easy for them.
Yeah. On the Mets bullpen, 4 guys currently on the IL. Brooks Raley, Drew Smith out with Tommy John. Danny Young out with a sprained elbow. AJ Minter out with a strained lat, and they're saying it could be season ending. They're getting more analysis and depth on that now. So 3 lefties among their 4 injured pitchers. Moving on from this, Cubs at Pirates. The Cubs win this game 8-3. And I'm really curious to hear both from our friend Gary with Locked On Pirates and for Sam with Locked On Cubs, because Gary had some thoughts about the struggles of Paul Skenes, which is not something we typically talk about. But Sam had the keys to victory. He's a little excited about this one.
The Chicago Cubs found a way to beat Paul Skenes on Thursday and won a series in Pittsburgh. I'm Sam Ober from Locked On Cubs, and this was a really, really nice win. Couple of big takeaways from the game. Seiya Suzuki, 2 home runs, hit 3 in the series, now leads the team with 9. It's been amazing to watch him just so comfortable in that DH role. And, he's really been quietly the best hitter for the Cubs to start this season. And then Colin Ray, 4 starts since Justin Steele went down for the season against really tough opponents, no exception today against Skenes. And the Cubs are 4-0 in those 4 starts, and Colin Ray has been magnificent. Catch Locked On Cubs tonight as we break down this series and then preview a big series in Milwaukee this weekend. Big series win, though, for the Cubbies. Keep it up.
JD, does it blow your mind that Paul Skenes until today had never given up 3 home runs in 1 start?
I mean, he hasn't been in the league very long, so I don't know if my mind is blown. But at the same time, when you see him and you see how dominant he can be, you never think something like that could ever happen. But, it's baseball, and some days are just not your day.
Yeah, he takes Dansby Swanson takes him deep, leading off the 5th inning, and then with 2 outs, Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki go back-to-back in this one. So,
how impressed are you with what the Cubs have done so far this year, Lindsay? It pains me to talk about him in a good light as a Cardinals fan, but it's still, I mean, how do you not give them acknowledgement of how good they've been?
They're quietly one of the best teams in baseball, and I didn't know if getting Kyle Tucker would make them be this good, right? But they're 19-13 plus 52 run differential, I believe, is tied with maybe the Mets and Yankees for the best mark in baseball. And you heard Sam talk about it. Losing Justin Steele, I thought the pitching would be a problem, but
sure,
they're keeping runs off the board. They're launching plenty of homers. They're scoring plenty of runs. I feel bad for your Cardinals having to be in the division and playing them, 13 times this year?
Yeah, at least we're not expected to beat them. So any win against them this year will be a bonus. But I mean, to see what they're doing against like really good teams around the league, and now we're beating the bad teams, but we're beating their aces too. Like Cubs, man, they deserve all the credit.
Yeah. Talk about a team that deserves credit. They were bad for a long time. The Athletics visited the Rangers, and they win this game 3-0. This is the 3rd time this season the Rangers have been shut out. And to the point we just made, the Cubs were one of those. The Dodgers were one of those. Now the Athletics are the 3rd one. And the A's are now in 3rd place in the AL West, which I don't know if I ever expected that to happen. Our guy Booney is he's impressed with what he saw from starter Jeffrey Springs and the offense today.
The A's just rolled into Texas and took 3 of 4 from the Rangers like they stole something. This is Booney from Locked On A's, and A's starter Jeffrey Springs, who had been catching heat after a couple rough outings, shoved it all right back with 6 dominant shutout innings, silencing a Rangers lineup and flipping the narrative on his season. This wasn't just a solid start. It was a statement. The fastball had life, the changeup was untouchable, and Texas had no answers. If Springs needed a redemption arc, he just launched it in IMAX. Meanwhile, the Bats kept doing what they have done so far this year, grinding out at bats, capitalizing on mistakes, and showing they belong. Jacob Wilson continues to be the spark plug, while Tyler Soderstrom and Miguel Andujar both delivered early, taking 3 of 4 on the road against a team most experts drool over. That's not a fluke. That's a flex. It reminds everyone that sleeping on the A's is a choice, and a bad one at that.
Panic meter if you are the Rangers. 1 to 10. 10 is the world is ending. Where are you if you're a Rangers fan right now?
I'm not freaking out yet. I mean, we're just turning the page to May, and Seager's been out, and you've got some guys here that normally you can trust to be your big boppers and Marcus Semien. And, they just sent Jake Berger down. Like,
Yep.
I mean, who saw that coming? So you've got some guys that have gotten off to some really cold starts, but as we know, very long season, things can turn around. People can get hot in the second half and make it happen. And I believe they're at 500 now. So it's not like we're talking about 7-8 wins so far for the Rangers. I think they're going to be okay, but you got to get healthy. You got to get these guys going.
Yeah. Counterpoint to this, they're at 500, negative run differential. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they've been really bad away from home. They're 5-10 away from Globe Life Field. So I'm not a 10, but I'm like higher than a 5, right? I'm probably a 6 right now, coming off that rough year they had. Okay. So
I got a panic button here.
Nice. Let's hit the panic button.
So Rangers fans, let us know if you need me to press this for you. We'll get you some help.
Nice. Real quick, I want to Twins at Guardians. Cleveland walks us off in 10 innings, 4-3. The big thing for me, Jose Ramirez is the first Guardians player in history to have 250 home runs and 250 stolen bases. I'm not stunned by that stat. Like, he quietly, is a 40-40 guy, and we just don't ever realize it. But it feels like that's got to be a pretty small list in baseball history, right?
Yeah, it's a special spot for Jose Ramirez, who, as you mentioned, quietly is one of the great players in this game. Obviously, being in Cleveland, which is a smaller market, hurts his profile. He doesn't get the lights that he would get in a bigger city. But the stolen bases thing, I think, would surprise a lot of people, because when you look at Jose, J-Ram is not a big guy. He's like 5'9", and he's kind of husky. And he doesn't look like somebody who's going to steal 30 bases a year. And yet, out of nowhere, he does it every single year. He's so consistent and so good. Special talent.
Absolutely special talent. We talked about the Cubs being so good. There's another team in Chicago that's not doing that badly. We'll talk about them next, right here on MLB Game Night. But first, did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your parent controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports, College Football 25, or Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. If you already have a console, Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, third generation. JD, so the Chicago White Sox take down the Brewers 8-0. And the stat that blew my mind on this one, the White Sox are now tied with the Cubs for the most 7-run wins or more in baseball, with 5 each. It went from the worst team in baseball last year to being tied for just, it's who knew this was going to happen?
It's an interesting stat, because when you look at them, they only got 8 wins, and when they win,
they win by a lot.
They're scoring is the answer. So you slow their bats down, you probably beat them. But hey, give them credit; they're playing a little bit better than they did last year, I guess.
There you go. Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers actually had some questions for Pat Murphy about how this one went. He was a little bit frustrated with the game.
Is that another lesson taught by Pat Murphy today? Hey everybody, Chuck Freeman here, Locked On Brewers. We've seen Murphy bench a few guys here in the last week or so, and he let Craig Yoho out there, who was obviously struggling. Gave up a 3-run home run in relief, gave up a bases-clearing double, walked 4 guys, gave up 5 runs in 1+ inning of work, and finally, Murph got him out of there. I don't know what that was about, but man, I thought, get him out of there. Especially after he gave him the 3-run home run, get him out of there. Maybe that was one of those games that Murph saw his The team was just not going to come back and win it anyway. Took 2 or 3 from the White Sox, home of the big weekend series. The Cubs will talk about all this coming up a little bit later on tonight on Locked On Brewers. We'll see you then.
Was this one of those games where a guy just needed to wear this? The end of a series, end of a long series? Or was this, do you really think this was Pat Murphy teaching somebody a lesson?
It might have been a little bit of both, honestly, where, a game's out of hand and you're like, look, I need you to just kind of get through this for us. We don't want to waste another arm and get another guy up when, we've got another big series coming up. So do your best. I saw it in person this week when Alexis Diaz got that same kind of treatment for the Reds against the Cardinals, where they just kind of left him out. They were like, dude, we don't have another guy to bring in for this right now. But people got to get used to going up against diversity. Let's see how the kid reacts to something when things aren't going well. So probably a little bit of both, in my opinion.
Yeah. Milwaukee only had 2 hits and 4 walks in this one. Although, to their credit, Rhys Hoskins would have had a grand slam in the first inning, and Lubob went and took it back in center field. So they had a chance to score some runs and just couldn't quite convert. A team that did score runs, and I'm apologizing in advance before we do this, is the Cincinnati Reds taking down your Cardinals 9-1. The big thing here, there was a long rain delay, right?
Yeah.
And so the Reds ended up having to use the bullpen for like 5 innings. They don't have an off day until I think May 12th. So they just sent Diaz down. They just had to use the bullpen a lot. But Jeff Carr, host of Locked On Reds, not concerned about that. He's just happy that they got some good offense in this one.
The Cincinnati Reds bats got right on Thursday after a horrible day on Wednesday. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and it was a consistent hitting day, albeit there was a rain delay in the middle. But the Reds win 9-1. That's right, they got 9 runs in 9 innings, where they could only get 1 run in 18 innings the day before. That's baseball. And that's why you don't go too crazy over just one day. But they had 2 home runs, Spencer Steer with a homer, and Jose Trevino. Man, he continues his hot start to the season. How great of a pickup was he in the offseason? It's great to see Spencer Steer, though, with the homer and sort of getting right a little bit at the plate. Like, we're seeing a lot more of the Spencer Steer that we expect to see. And then a multi-hit day from Noelvi Marte, a multi-hit day from Santiago Espinal. It was a solid day all around for the Redlegs. Another hit from Matt McLain. Again, baby steps, getting out of that deep slump. Dude was in a deep slump. So hopefully we can see him get right this weekend. Nationals coming to town, looking for 2 out of 3, maybe even a sweep. We'll be talking about that on the next Locked On Reds.
JD, what did you see from your Cardinals in this one? Because losing Matthew Liberatore, I think, was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
The bullpen had to go extra. I want to say it was like 6 runs in 5 innings off the pen, and the offense just couldn't generate a base runner after the rain delay.
It was 2 different games. When pre-rain delay, which the rain delay was 1 hour and 37 minutes, lasted extremely long. It was a tight game. It was a 2-1 ball game. Liberatore gave up that home run to Trevino. It was a first pitch swing, ambushed one, took it to left, whatever. It wasn't like he did anything wrong there. It's just, so he put good wood on the ball. And they made it a 2-1 ball game. They were taking excellent at bats. They had Andrew Abbott's pitch count up to 74 through 4 innings. Like, they were working counts. They had the Cardinals were on their game. Rain delay happened, and it was as if they woke up from a nap and were just like, what's going on out here? They were all groggy and they didn't get a base runner, Lindsay.
Jeez.
A base runner. Nobody walked. Nobody got on an air or got a hit. Nothing. After that rain delay, it appeared to me as if they were just trying to get out of town. They were done. Let's move on with our lives. And the Reds took advantage of it. So bullpen, not the strongest thing for the Cardinals this year. And these were the bottom guys. These weren't like your top end of the game closer type of guys.
Yeah.
These were, the guys that come in and blow out games and stuff. And they had control issues. So not too worried about it as the Cardinals side of things, but it's kind of a bummer to watch them just roll over.
There you go. Yeah. Sometimes rain delays do weird things to you, especially if you're in the clubhouse eating or something like that. Game that I don't believe was rain delayed, but just ended up being an odd kind of game. Royals at Rays, 8-2 by Kansas City here. The big thing for me, Bobby Witt had a go-ahead home run late, which pushed his hitting streak to an MLB best 22 games. And after the slump that Kansas City had from a win-loss perspective, they're 9-1 in their past 10 games. So you're looking at the Central's getting really interesting. Jack Johnson of Locked On Royals had a lot of thoughts about the offense and kind of what they showed today.
Well, it's a sweep for the Royals in Tampa Bay as they've now won 9 of 10 games to move 2 games over 500. And I'm your host of Locked On Royals, Jack Johnson. What do you know, was the offense finally breaking out in this game despite only getting 6 total runs in Game 1 and Game 2. They erupt for 8 runs on 15 hits. Bobby Witt Jr. extends his hitting streak to 22 games. Vinny Pasquantino's finally putting together a couple of good at-bats. Maikel Garcia has stayed red hot. And now they will head off to Baltimore where they face a bottom 3 pitching staff in all of baseball. Will they be able to continue this momentum and taking on the Orioles team they saw earlier in the month of April? But big takeaway for me in this one is this offense, it can be contagious when you got the top of the order all in sync. Jonathan India, he's been great over the last 7 games in OBP well north of 440. Vinny Pasquantino, as I said, has been coming on strong, and so was Salvador Perez, though he did lead today's game with some hit soreness. So now they'll take their 17-15 record to Baltimore to take on the Orioles.
Every single lineup regular had a hit for the Royals today. You can't ask for much more than that.
No, and Bobby Witt Jr., another one of those guys that just fun to watch. He's just so good, and to see him getting the attention for this 22-game hitting streak, well-deserved.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, Nationals and Phillies, this has been an interesting series. Washington really needed a win, and we'll tell you how that went after this. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The collaboration is my favorite part of this. You can manage money with your partner. It's smoother than ever. You have the app. They have the app. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first. JD, Nationals at Phillies. Nationals trying to avoid the sweep. They successfully do. 4-2 victory over Philadelphia. And this was something where I kind of feel like Philly shot themselves in the foot a little bit on this one. Bryce Harper error in the 6th inning, let the go-ahead run, I believe, score, moved a run to the 3rd with 1 out, all this kind of stuff. Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies tried to keep a good perspective on the loss.
Well, the Phillies, I guess, kind of sleptwalked through the series finale against the Washington Nationals. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies, and the Phils do not get the sweep. They fall to Washington in a 4-2 loss, and it was just kind of one of those, the offense felt lethargic, basically, from the start. They had hits. They just weren't really impactful hits, and they weren't cashing in when they had opportunities. But it didn't even feel like they had as many opportunities as the box score is going to show. It just felt like they sleptwalked through this one. And while people are going to be upset about that, and you have every right to be, there are games in a Major League Baseball season where that kind of stuff is going to happen, even the best of teams. It's annoying, but they did win the series. The offense has to be better. Taijuan Walker was fine. The bullpen was okay. You just gotta wake up and score, and you're going to need to against the Diamondbacks over the weekend. So we'll talk about that series and this one that just finished on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
Sometimes you just lose a game.
I feel this pain. That's what the Cardinals did today. They sleptwalked after the rain delay, and that's exactly what they look like out there today. And like you said, it's kind of silly to freak out over it because it's a long season and there's going to be duds. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. Phillies are now 3.5 games back of the Mets for first place in the NL East. I do want to real quick hear from Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals. The Washington did some different stuff with their bullpen, and he had some pretty good thoughts about the changes.
The city of Philadelphia, they cannot take it all. The Nationals win Game 3 of this series, and of course, led by Brad Lord. Brad Lord, first win in the major leagues. 6 innings pitched tonight, looked really good, but I want to highlight Jorge Lopez. We haven't talked a lot of positive about this Nats bullpen, but on the day that they DFA Colin Poche and also add in Andrew Chafin, you have Jorge Lopez in the 8th inning going against Trey, Bryce, Schwarber. You could add to that jam 4 runs in the 6th inning in tonight's contest. That's all it needed for the Washington Nationals. How about Luis Garcia Jr. and his performance, and also Jose Tena, the new hot corner for the Nationals? At this point in time, the improvements that he has made over at third base has been one of the biggest stories so far this season. You're going to see him every day as a Nationals third baseman, and it's the right decision. Nats win 4-2. Catch me up on Jack on Locked On Nationals.
He kind of covered everything I had there. I mean, it's just, sometimes you do things a little bit differently. They've moved a lot of guys around. Andrew Chafin's a good get. Hopefully it helps them. They are right behind Atlanta, 4th place in the division, but everybody's within spitting distance of the Mets. All right, Red Sox at Blue Jays. Blue Jays take this game 4-2. It was big to me because Toronto's trying to make up ground on Boston. Boston's now 1 game ahead of the Blue Jays for second place. They're both chasing the Yankees in that torpedo bat fueled offense. But Gabby, our host of Locked On Red Sox, had some thoughts about the decision making that happened in this one.
Alex Cora's poor managerial decision cost the Red Sox the series against the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Gabby Maljanian from Locked On Red Sox, and I am here with a frustrating Red Sox loss as they fell 4-2 to the Toronto Blue Jays tonight and lost the 3-game series. And the biggest frustration was in the bottom of the 8th inning when Justin Slayton put 2 men on with 1 out. And they were on second and third, but they had a base open. First base was literally open with, guess who, at the plate? Vlad Jr., one of the best hitters in the entirety of the sport. Why not walk him there? Alex Cora completely blew that situation by not walking him when you had a base open and 1 out. Take your chances with the next guy. I don't care how much you trust your pitcher. This is Vlad Jr. we are talking about. You walk him there. Red Sox lose the series. Got to be better in a lot of different areas. Tune in to Locked On Red Sox for more.
Anthony Santander's batting behind Vlad, and Santander finished today's game batting 178. Is she right? Do you walk Vlad, load the bases for Santander?
I'm certainly being a lot more cautious with him. See if I can get him to chase a pitch or two. But, they didn't pay him all that money because he can't hit the ball over the wall. So I would take my chance. And, Santander also a switch hitter, so it didn't matter what arm was coming into the bullpen there either. Yeah. So, you know how when a series starts, you always say, don't let this guy beat you. And they let that guy beat them. And that's a big no-no.
Yeah, if there's anybody in this lineup you're pitching around, it's Vlad Guerrero. Bo Bichette's batting 293. He's not Vlad Guerrero Jr. Yeah, So I agree with Gabby. I think she's right. I'm sure she'll have more to talk about it on the next episode of Locked On Red Sox. You want to rapid fire these last 2 games real quick?
Let's fire through them, brother. Angels and Detroit played tonight, and Detroit ends up taking this one by a score of 10-4. The Tigers were trying to be the first AL team to get to 20 wins, and they accomplished that tonight with some late runs because the Angels actually held the lead in this one, 4-2 until that 8th inning. Tigers score 5 of the 8th. They get 3 in the 9th. And Lindsay, what about this rebirth of Javi Baez? Did you see this game? Because my guy robbing home runs as well as hitting home runs in this one. Can you believe he's relevant all of a sudden?
I actually know people who have picked Javi Baez up in fantasy. That's the first time in 4 years that he's been relevant, but he's doing everything. Center fielder Javi Baez is a different dude, and I love it.
Yeah, it feels like almost like the change of scenery, moving positions has kind of given him a new challenge, and It's working out so far for Detroit. Former number 1 overall pick Casey Mize back in 2018, 7 innings tonight, gets his 5th victory of the season, moves to 5-1. The Angels get dingers from Soler and Ohapi, but they're out with Trout. He's out right now. The left knee, left Wednesday's game with that injury. They're still evaluating that surgically repaired left knee, so no new information about that yet, but he was not in the lineup tonight. And then you got the Rockies and the Giants. If I told you to place a bet on who you thought was going to win this game, Lindsay, what would you say?
Well, I did just watch the Rockies shut down my Braves
Yes, you
on Wednesday. So did the Rockies get back-to-back wins for the first time this season?
You betcha. You betcha. Break them up. The Rockies are hot right now. Check it out, man. The Rockies come away with a 4-3 victory in San Francisco. Another one of those games where they were trailing and were able to come up with some action a little bit later on in the game. Got 1 in the 7th. They got 2 in the 8th. Ryan McMahon, a solo shot in that 7th inning. Jordan Beck, he's been hitting really well. Ground rule double. Hunter Goodman, also a single in that 8th inning. I mean, give them credit because the Rockies have every reason to not come out and try. And look at them. The last couple nights, like you said, beat the Braves. They beat the Giants. We're talking about 2 of the teams that are expected to be there when playoff time rolls around. And the Rockies did not lay down and roll over for them. They were able to pick up that victory. The first time this season getting back-to-back wins. Congratulations to Paul Holden, our host of Locked On Rockies, and to the Rocky fan base and to the Rockies themselves. Good job.
Yeah. The big thing for me, like Justin Verlander, he like the strikeout stuff wasn't there. He had 4 strikeouts, but 6 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 1 walk. It's as close to vintage Verlander as you're going to get from a mid-40s pitcher, right? And then Kyle Freeland on the Colorado side, like 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs. Like he put up a quality start on the other side. And I'm happy for the Rockies. Now that it's not my Braves, I'm happy for the Rockies. And
you're probably a little sour yesterday, but tonight, yay!
This makes me feel better. Yeah. And I'm happy for Paul. Paul's a good guy. Go check out Locked On Rockies. He's been suffering for a long time doing that show with love. And I'm just happy he gets back-to-back wins to talk about for once.
Yeah.
This has been MLB Game Night. It is every game, every night, the entire season, 7 days a week. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review for Locked On MLB, Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses for their podcast nowadays. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to Locked On MLB, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with tomorrow's episode. Because again, Locked On MLB Game Night is every game, every night, 7 days a week. Until next time, for JD, I'm Lindsay. This has been MLB Game Night.